Oliver Grant sat at the sidewalk cafe table, his evening wine untouched, his gourmet meal half-eaten. At 39, he'd achieved everything he'd set out to accomplish in his investment career. Yet tonight he felt the familiar emptiness that success had brought. Around him, the city hummed with life, people rushing past to homes and families he would never have. He was about to signal for the check when movement caught his eye. A young woman, maybe 26, had knelt on the cold sidewalk a few feet from his table. She wore a worn beige dress and shawl, her blonde hair pulled back in a messy bun, and she held a baby wrapped in what looked like layers of her own clothing to keep the infant warm. Oliver watched, uncertain, as she seemed to gather her courage. Then she looked directly at him, and he saw something in her green eyes that stopped his breath. Not just desperation, but a fierce maternal determination mixed with deep humiliation. "Excuse me, sir," she said quietly, her voice shaking. "I'm so sorry to bother you, but I noticed you're not finishing your meal. May I have your leftovers? My baby needs me to eat so I can feed her, and I haven't had food since yesterday." The words hung in the evening air. Other diners at nearby tables looked away quickly, uncomfortable. A waiter started toward them, clearly intending to move her along, but Oliver held up his hand, stopping him. He looked at this woman kneeling on the sidewalk, holding her baby with such gentle care despite her obvious desperation, and something fundamental shifted in his chest. "Please stand up," Oliver said. "Softly, please. You don't need to kneel." The woman rose slowly, swaying slightly with exhaustion. The baby in her arms stirred but didn't wake. "When did you last eat?" Oliver asked. "2 days ago. I had some bread someone gave me." Her voice was barely above a whisper. "But my milk is drying up and my baby is hungry. And I thought if I could just eat something." Oliver stood abruptly and pulled out the chair across from him. "Sit down, please." "Sir, I can't. I'm not dressed for a place like this. I'll just take the leftovers and go." "I'm not offering you leftovers. I'm offering you dinner. Sit down." The woman looked at him with such shock that Oliver felt ashamed of whatever world had taught her to expect so little kindness. She sat carefully, adjusting the baby in her arms. Oliver signaled the waiter. "I'd like to order another meal, actually several courses. And please bring warm soup immediately, and some bread and butter." The waiter hesitated, looking at the woman's shabby clothing with barely concealed disdain. "Now, please," Oliver said firmly. While they waited, Oliver studied the woman and child. The baby was tiny, maybe 2 months old, with a shock of dark hair. Despite everything, the infant was clean, wrapped carefully in layers that the mother had clearly sacrificed from her own clothing. "What's your name?" Oliver asked gently. "Claire. My daughter is Hannah." "I'm Oliver. Can you tell me what happened? How did you end up here?" Claire's eyes filled with tears. "I was a teacher. My husband was military. We had a good life. Then he was killed overseas when I was 6 months pregnant. The grief, it broke something in me. I couldn't function, couldn't work, lost my job. Then the apartment. His military benefits got held up in red tape. I've been trying to navigate the system, but with a newborn and nowhere stable to live, it's impossible." She looked down at Hannah. "I called every shelter. They're all full. I've been sleeping in a church doorway for 3 nights. The priest brings me water, but the church has no funds for more. I was a respected professional for months ago. Now I'm begging for table scraps." The soup arrived, and Oliver pushed it toward her. "Eat, please." Claire picked up the spoon with trembling hands and took a bite. Then another. She ate slowly, trying to maintain dignity. But Oliver could see the desperate hunger in every movement. As she ate, Oliver made phone calls to his assistant, to his property manager, to a lawyer friend who specialized in military benefits. Claire tried to protest between bites, but he waved her concerns away. When the main course arrived, Oliver had made arrangements. I have an apartment building downtown. There's a vacant unit on the 4th floor. Two-bedroom, fully furnished. It's yours for as long as you need it. Claire set down her fork, staring at him. I can't afford rent. I have $17 to my name. No rent. It's sitting empty anyway. I'd rather have it occupied. Oliver pulled out his business card and wrote on the back, "This is my property manager's number. He'll meet you there tonight with keys. I'm also having groceries delivered in the morning." "Why would you do this?" Claire whispered. "You don't know me." Oliver looked at baby Hannah, sleeping peacefully now that her mother had finally eaten. "My mother raised me alone. My father left before I was born. There were times we had nothing. A stranger helped us once. Gave my mother a job and a place to live when every door had been slammed in her face. She told me that kindness like that creates an obligation, not to pay back, but to pay forward." He met Claire's eyes. "You shouldn't have had to kneel on a sidewalk to feed your child. No one should. Let me help you get back on your feet." Tears streamed down Claire's face. "I don't know what to say. Say you'll accept the help. Say you'll take care of yourself and that beautiful baby." Over the next hour, while Claire ate a full meal for the first time in days, Oliver made more calls. His lawyer friend agreed to handle Claire's military benefits case pro bono. A former colleague who ran a private school said they'd love to talk to Claire about a teaching position when she was ready. Oliver arranged for childcare support and connected Claire with a grief counselor. When the meal ended, Oliver called a car service to take Claire to the apartment. As she stood to leave, Hannah bundled warm in her arms. She looked at Oliver with eyes that held more than gratitude. "You gave me back my dignity tonight. You saw me as a person, not just a problem on the sidewalk. That means more than the food or the apartment. You never lost your dignity," Oliver said. "You're a mother doing whatever it takes to care for your child. That's the most dignified thing I can imagine." Claire shifted Hannah in her arms. "I will pay this forward someday, when I'm back on my feet. I'll help someone else the way you helped me tonight. I know you will." 6 months later, Oliver received an invitation to a small ceremony. Claire's military benefits had finally come through, and she decided to use part of the money to start a foundation for military widows in crisis. She wanted Oliver to be on the board. He attended the ceremony and watched Claire speak about her experience, about the night she'd knelt on a sidewalk and a stranger had seen her humanity. Instead of her desperation, she'd gotten the teaching job and was thriving. Hannah was healthy and growing. Claire had moved into her own apartment, but continued to volunteer at the foundation. After the ceremony, Claire approached Oliver with Hannah, now 8 months old and smiling. "She won't remember this," Claire said, "but I'll tell her someday. About the man who helped us when we had nothing. About how one act of kindness can change the trajectory of a life." Oliver held Hannah for a moment. This thriving baby who'd been wrapped in rags on a cold sidewalk months ago, and felt tears in his eyes. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for what you helped us. For reminding me what wealth is really for. For showing me that the measure of success isn't what we accumulate, but what we give away when it matters most." That night, Oliver sat in his penthouse apartment, no longer feeling empty. He'd established a fund through Claire's foundation and had started volunteering his time. His business partners thought he'd lost focus. Oliver knew he'd finally found it. Sometimes miracles don't look like lightning from heaven. Sometimes they look like a businessman pushing away his wine glass to really see the woman kneeling before him. Sometimes they look like choosing dignity over dismissal, connection over convenience. And sometimes In the moment when someone asks for leftovers and we offer them a seat at our table instead. Both lives are forever changed by the recognition that we're all one tragedy away from desperation and one choice away from grace. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe for more stories of compassion changing lives. Comment below about a time when someone's kindness lifted you up, or when you chose to help someone in their darkest moment. Your stories remind us that humanity thrives in our willingness to see each other